that done, let me say again, welcome to the conversation. It's Bunce webinar here, and today we're discussing something interesting. We'll get into it in a bit, but let me remind you that I'm John, and this is Bunce webinar. Well, what do we do at Bunce? Bunce is a payment automation and customer value management company. Our simple work is that we see to it the businesses are getting the best of their customers, delivering value to them and getting the best of value from that service delivery. So now on today's conversation, we will be drilling further on customer value management and everything that is derivative of that. Of course, we cannot do the full work of drilling through, but we'll touch on important things, and we will be going up with takeaways that are helpful today. And of course, we will see how Bunce plays a role in helping businesses to do the things that we share. Well, joining me on the conversation today are two interesting people. Of course, again, on this conversation, we have our co-founders, Justus and Dami. Justus and Dami, happy to have you. Would you mind saying hello to us?
Hi, John. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Great. Happy to have you as well. Justus, you want to say hello? Okay. While we are looking to hear from Justus, I'm sure he's doing his best to be able to speak to us. Let me just open the floor very quickly by talking about the topic today. What are we looking at? Simple. Understanding customer value management. What exactly are those words for? Customer value management. And as we drill into it, we will expose how to increase customer lifetime value and, of course, revenue growth. So if you're very hooked up on seeing that your business doesn't stay on the same level month on month, you want to see that customer satisfaction increases and that the value you're able to offer to the customers are increasing, and of course it's translating to money, then this is the conversation for you. Without much ado, let's jump right into it. Let me ask Dami the first question. And the first question is not about a topic. My question is, Dami, how are you doing today? Someone told me you were in Morocco recently. How did that go? Let's start from there.
Okay, first of all, I'm doing great. I hope you're doing good too. Yeah, the Bunce team was in Morocco represented by myself and two other co-founders, where we had a chance to exhibit our company alongside some other wonderful companies from Lagos, across Nigeria, and also across Africa and the globe, essentially. So it was an interesting time, seeing how different founders and different companies are using technology to solve critical problems in Africa, and how, like, even vice versa, how there are even foreign companies that probably you haven't even heard of that are serving the African market, essentially, come exhibit all of that. So it was an interesting time. We met with a lot of clients, a lot of potential partners, with a lot of investors. So great conversations, and, great conversations that are even still brewing and, following out, and that we're following up on even post the event. So yeah, it was a wonderful time last week.
Yeah. Maybe Paul is able to speak. Hello, Paul. Can you say hello to us if you're able to speak now?
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Great. Welcome again. I was just asking Dami how it went in Morocco, and maybe I can throw one at you on the back of that. It will be, if there was one takeaway for you from Morocco, what would that be?
Africa is the future. There's a lot of companies coming up solving really interesting problems, and it was just really clear from the kind of companies we saw there, the kind of investors we saw, I think that there's so much the future holds for Africa.
There's so much the future holds for Africa, and definitely Bunce is playing a major role in that future right from now. Well, enough about Morocco now. If we get that gist continued, we will not get done before we realize that the time is gone. So let's talk about customer value management. And maybe I can turn things around a bit and say, Dami, do you want to start us off on that? What really is customer value management? How do you describe that?
Okay, so I think just as you said a few minutes ago, you can break the word into like the three individual words that they are. You have customers, you have value, and you have management. But before we even go into that, every business exists to solve problems for customers. Well, we can say AKA provide value for customers. And as they provide value for customers, in exchange, they also get value. So customers have to return value to the business in terms of payment for the goods and services and for the problems that they solve, right? Now, at the end of the day, there has to be a balance. The business has to ensure that they provide as much value to their customers over the lifetime of their relationship with that customer. And the business also has to ensure that they receive enough value from that same customer or from those customers over that lifetime of relationship. So customer value management basically is just how do you maximize that two-way relationship, providing value for customers as much as possible, as many times as possible, and how do you maximize the value that customers return to you at the end of the day. So yeah, that's what I would say customer value management is. John, I think you're on mute.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Thank you for getting started there with that definition. Breaking it down just makes it a lot simple. I don't know, Paul, do you want to add a few thoughts to that?
I think Dami has actually said it all. So customer value management is really a process, right? It's a process of how you manage the value you provide to your customers and how you also gain value from your customers. So like you said earlier, if you take the words literally, customer value management, it's like how do you manage the process of getting value, of giving value to your customers, and also getting receiving that. So that's it.
And to even break it further down, right? It would be great if we could have like use cases or examples of the practical ways a customer value would resonate with a business owner. Is that something you mind sharing a bit with us? Maybe some use cases of how a business can interpret this customer value.
Sure. I mean, let's take a health application, for instance. When a customer signs up, the goal of the application is to be able to tell if they have health challenges, right? So that's the value they get from signing up to the business, is to be able to see if they have health challenges. What's the process? After sign up, you think about it this way, after sign up, what's the process of them, or what process would it take them to get that value, right? So in my head, let's think about it as, let's say there's one step, and that one step is for them to impute their current health history, right? And based on how the application works, if he has the history, he can then show the result of that. So in that case now, you can see that it's on the customer to fill in their health details, but it's also on the business side to let the customer know that for them to get this value, they should be able to they should be able to take step A or step B, right? And so essentially what I'm saying is, if you think about customer value management, you could also think about it as some sort of customer engagement and customer communication. How do you let them know that this is what they should do to gain this value? And in many forms. So you could do that visually, and you could also do that through communication. So you could communicate visually through the user experience or the user interface of the application. And you could also do that by sending an email or a message to let them know. So in the case of this health application we've just described, after sign up, they may get emails telling them, hey, you need to fill in these details and then this would happen, right? So based on that, these users have signed up to take that action, and after taking that action, you see that they have been able, they are all going to get the value, which is them able to see their health issues that they currently have. And based on that, you can see that they're not just dormant, like they didn't just sign up and that was it. The communication, the two-way communication happened, and they were able to receive the value that they needed to get from your application. So being able to, as a business, being able to manage the process of how a customer would get to the point where they'll receive value from your business is really critical. And, this is just one of the examples, but of course, there's so many more.
Thank you, Paul, for that example there. And just as you were talking, in addition to what Dami had said, it just comes clear, right? We're talking about value. Every business exists in the first place because there is a value proposition, right? But why is Bunce so excited about this value thing and talking a lot about it? And the point is coming clear, which is that it's because beyond offering the basic value, which is at the core of your existence as a business, there are many things that could go on in the course of your transaction and relationship with your customers that could lead to dissatisfaction. And this customer value management is just about making sure that at every possible time, at every touch point, the best experience is gotten by the customer, which is in addition now translating to more sale or extra time that the customer spends making the product sticky and all of that. So it begins to come clear, this concept of managing the customer value, ensuring that it is there, ensuring that it is growing, ensuring that the customers perceive it as they should. Maybe Dami, you want to come in at this point to talk a bit about the importance of customer value management. What are those reasons that businesses need to identify as the importance for why they should really take customer value management very seriously? What are the demerits of not taking it seriously, for instance? What are the potential losses that could accrue because customer value was not given the right attention?
All right, thank you, John. Good question. So I'd like to answer this question looking at it from a kind of like a scale, right? So you have low tier businesses, you have businesses that just started off, 1, 2, 3 years ago. You can call them startups, you can call them fresh businesses, and you have businesses who have kind of like been in the space for a while. They've been operating for a couple of years. They have some goodwill, people know them, some of them are family names. Right now, the advantages and disadvantages for these two different categories of businesses, they differ. Someone who is just starting off, right, their major goal is that they want to increase brand awareness, right? So they want to sell more, they want to get across to more customers, right? And in an effort to do that, there are some disadvantages and there are some advantages. However, for businesses that have been in the game for like a couple of years, they aren't so much concerned about reaching out to more people. To them, they are looking at, okay, how can I sell more to this already existing customer base? How can I increase my revenue and reduce my costs? So now, bearing that in mind, an advantage of looking closely at customer value management for a business at this level is you start seeing that if you pay close attention to customer value management, you're communicating with customers based on their journey on your product. You're communicating when there are issues. You're communicating at different points in the product where maybe a customer hits a roadblock, you would see that you would build customer loyalty and goodwill and brand awareness faster. In fact, people would even want to refer you more at this stage. But failure to do that is what you quickly realize is that the opposite of everything happens. So you begin to lose that goodwill, you begin to lose that trust. And at this stage of the business, it's very, very critical, because for you that you've not been operating for a couple of years, I mean, in a country like Nigeria now, we're even low on trust, right? You will just realize that people will never come back to your app. People will never come back to your shop because they cannot even trust you. Sorry. But for businesses that are at this stage, failure to look at customer value management, what you would see is that possible revenue and profitability would be seeping into the drain. And it's funny because at scale, you might not even know that this is happening. You might look at your numbers, you might look at your projections, and you see that, okay, maybe in a general summary, I'm actually making enough money. I'm racking in, a couple of hundreds of thousands of naira in revenue or millions in revenue, when you could actually be doing like ×2 or ×3 of that, but you don't even know. You don't know that you're losing revenue. You don't know that you're losing profitability. You don't know that you're losing customer value that you could actually capture, right? Failure to actually also not do that properly at this scale leads to even more costs. So take, for example, a business that has like a bank, a typical bank that has like 100,000 customers or 1 million customers. And let's say there are different issues on their app and they need to communicate to these customers. Majority of businesses at this scale that are not paying close attention to customer value management, what they end up doing is they employ more customer support staff, more overhead, or, they just try to spend more money when they spend more money to do more, when they could spend less money to even do more, if that makes sense, right? So for different types of businesses, there are different advantages and disadvantages, but in summary, it leads to better customer loyalty, goodwill, and brand awareness. And failure to do that could actually lead to you losing customers who may never come back. It could lead to profitability issues or loss in revenue and all of that. And it could eventually just lead to even more costs because you're trying to solve a problem that, you're not solving the right way as you should. Yeah.
Thank you, Dami. I'm still with you because I'm going to follow up that question with one more. But and once I'm done with that, I will be moving on to Paul to ask him about how the Bunce product actually helps customers ensure the best of customer value management. But before I move on to him, I wanted to ask you, what kind of businesses should pay attention to customer value? Yes, you've talked about particularly businesses based on their ages, but then just looking through, are there certain kinds of businesses that should pay attention to customer value management, and some maybe it's not a big deal, not so necessary, or is it all businesses?
The simple answer to the question is all businesses. Any business, whether it's a supermarket or it's a restaurant or a large enterprise company or a bank, any business can adhere to the processes of customer value management. Any business. It doesn't mean that every business will, right? And I think the major reason why is because I think education is the first problem. So a lot of businesses don't even know what customer, like take for example, I have a restaurant here around my home area that I don't cook as much, right? So I often go out to buy food. And not for once have they ever offered me a loyal customer. I mean, I entered the restaurant and they sometimes they hail me, our customer, but it doesn't reduce the amount of money I pay. I've never been recognized as a regular returning customer. No, nothing of that sort. I mean, it doesn't stop the fact that I'm not going to go back there, but I would have loved if I was recognized in a way. Right. So every kind of business can do it. But I think the first problem there is education. Number two is for you to actually even engage in customer value management, you need to be collecting some sort of data. Right. And that's why right now there's a lot of advocacy around migrating people from not just selling offline to selling online. Because the advantages of selling online, collecting payments online, collecting some sort of data, no matter how small, is that it gives you that entry point into your customer where you can then manage them. right? So take, for example, my restaurant cannot even reward me because I'm very sure they don't even know my name. They just know me as this young guy that comes to buy every day, right? So far they are not collecting any sort of data they won't be able to manage. So I think that answers the question. Number one is all businesses can, but not all businesses will, because there's that education problem. And for you to effectively manage your customers, you need to collect data, and not all businesses are collecting data. So yeah, that's it.
Not all businesses are collecting data. Data is critical. Just like you said, sometimes it feels like the implication of not managing customer value is minimal or maybe does not exist. For example, in the scenario that you painted, that restaurant does not feel the fact that you're not totally satisfied with their service. Not that the food is bad, but it would have been reasonable if there was some kind of a recognition and appreciation of your loyalty. Now, the day that perception of yours will be felt will be when another restaurant opens nearby with similar quality of service, or even maybe just a little way below what the current restaurant is offering, but with a better loyalty, because every human being has emotions and wants to be treated with empathy. So I think that that's a real point to what you're saying about paying attention to customer value, and it applies to every business across all industries. Now let's move over to Paul. Paul, would you just walking us through how businesses use Bunce and how that means or translates into being able to manage customer value?
Awesome. So like we said before, it's synonymous with customer engagement, right? So it's really about how you can connect with your customers and send them the right messages at the right time that will get them to take action, and based on those action, get the value they're supposed to get. So the best way to do that is through understanding your customers and understanding where they are in their journey. Are they new customers? Are they old customers? Are they returning customers? Do they typically purchase high frequency? Do they typically purchase high expensive products? Do they purchase the medium or like the low products, right? Being able to effectively group them would mean that you'd be able to send them the right messaging for them. So with Bunce today, you can, impute your customer data source, right? Once you're able to get your customer data into the Bunce system by connecting your payment providers or your ERP softwares, we're then able to segment your customers based on different criteria and based on their payment behaviors. So you could see customers that have purchased a certain amount over a particular period of time, customers that have purchased just once, customers that have never purchased at all, but they signed up, customers that, and by purchase, it may be a purchase, it may be a payment, a subscription payment, or whatever it is, but like we said, it's a two-way, the value is like a two-way street. It's the value the businesses provides to the customer and what the customer gives in return for that value. And on the customer's end, most of the time is payments, right? And on the business end, it's delivering the service in question. So, with Bunce, you're able to segment your customers and group them into different buckets based on their payment behaviors, based on their purchase patterns, and based on how they're interacting with your product generally. So based on that, you're then able to personalize the message each of them are getting. Because think about it, how many times have you signed up somewhere and then you didn't even get a welcome email from them, and maybe 2 months later you get an email and you're like, did I ever sign up for this app? Am I sure I signed up? You get to thinking, why is that? That's because there's been no proper communication set between you and the business, right? But if you've been in communication, that wouldn't be happening. And one concept that's really important that we haven't even talked about, or we've talked about briefly here, is it's that customer value management is geared towards increasing customer lifetime value. right? And customer lifetime value is really how much you intend to like, how much you can say, let's say how much you can make off a customer during their relationship with you as a business. So let's give a scenario where if a business charges 1,000 naira per se every month for a service, and then they have a customer that transacts every month for 12 months, that means that the customer lifetime value, or that customer lifetime value, is 12,000 naira, right? Which is one times 12, right? But so for most businesses, that potential isn't maximized. Why is that? It's because along the line, the customer may drop off, and for various reasons, maybe they're not getting the value, maybe they've found another service, maybe there's somewhere they can get discounts, maybe there's somewhere that they feel more connected to. But really, if you're able to connect with your customers at the time and at the channels where that are more interesting for them, you'd find that automatically their loyalty and how much they'll interact with your product and how much value they'll get from your product increases, right? So with Bunce, you can segment your customers into different categories based on different behaviors and how they are interacting with your platform and your payments. And then you can also personalize the messages that get sent out to them, and not just personalizing these messages. You can also send it through different channels. So currently we have support for emails, we have support for SMS, we have support for WhatsApp. We'll soon be able to support automated phone calls, in-app notifications, and the likes. So, and another thing to notice, the Bunce system is smart in a way that even when these messages are sent out, they're not just sent out like randomly in bulk. There's also a smart tracking system that tracks how these users are interacting with these messages they're receiving. Have they clicked on them? Have they opened them? Did the message deliver as they should? And whatnot, right? And based on that, the follow-up messages then get sent smartly. So you're able to really maximize the money you spend in sending out these messages, because automatically these messages are more effective because they're getting read more, they're getting seen more by these businesses, by these customers, because they're effective in the sense that they're going to the right channels, they're also being sent at the right time. And so your customers are more poised to interact with your product and really have your product in mind, would be right. So at the moment, that's how businesses are using Bunce to manage the customers.
Thank you. Paul, you made a full sweep there of what Bunce does, and I think even how it translates to value in terms of ensuring that businesses can retain their customers. And Dami has shown earlier on that customer value management is critical, very important to every business. Now, every business exists to deliver service. However, that service has to be confirmed, delivered by the payment made by customers. So revenue is key, is lifeblood to any business. And I know that one of the things that Bunce is very passionate about is ensuring that businesses that use Bunce enjoy revenue growth. I would appreciate if you can speak a bit about revenue growth and how businesses can take advantage of customer value management to see that they experience it, and possibly even maybe a use case of our Bunce could be very useful in that process.
John, is it me or Paul?
Oh, to you, please, to you.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so a lot of businesses think that the key to revenue growth is I have a billboard, I'm aggressive with social media marketing, and have an active sales team that just sells to new customers. Truth of the matter is, yes, that is true. That can lead to more sales, can lead to more growth. However, you can actually maximize revenue growth with an already existing customer base. especially if your product is something that people can always come back to buy. I do know there are some products or some businesses out there that just want to sell one time. I'm not sure if you can call those businesses, but I would believe that most businesses out there create products and services that people can always come back to buy. So people can always come back to return. Now, what's the key to making people return and buy? First things first is, just as you said, you have to deliver on the value that you promised. So if a business exists and maybe they're promising a certain value proposition and that value proposition has not been met yet, I think maybe you might not necessarily need this call. You might need to go back and work on that value proposition. But so far that value proposition exists in some way, and there have been some customers that have already paid for it, it means that you can always resell that same value, try and build upon it, make it better, or even package the same thing and sell it again and again. And how do you do that? That's why you have things like loyalty programs where, take for example, for someone like me that I always go to this restaurant, if I'm giving a 5% or 2% discount, even if it's only during seasonal times, right? It's a way to ensure that I am loyal to that particular business at the end of the day. Number two is, if you're always constantly providing this value and these customers are loyal, they would be the ones that would champion your product or champion your goods and services. So they would be the ones that would be happy to tell their family and friends that, okay, hi, I always use this product. I always go to this restaurant. You should also try them out. And because of that, you would already see that you're already growing more customers and you're growing more sales at the end of the day. So in essence, all of this can be done on the Bunce platform. You can ensure that you're segmenting your customers based on those who have already made that purchase from you, and ensure that you make sure that they continue to come back by sending them targeted messages, engaging them in loyalty programs, and making sure that they come back. You can also send them engagements at certain times to refer to their family and friends and even get more loyalty points or even more discounts and so on and so forth. And all of that can also be done via the Bunce platform. And one other thing that the Bunce platform does, which brings us back to the first example that I gave around marketing, is although it's not currently live, one of the things we're working on is on the Bunce platform, you can segment your customers, and based on that, export them and integrate them into like your social media campaigns, where take for example on Facebook can help you generate customers that look alike. So customers that have similar tastes with those certain type of customers that you exported, and markets to them. So it's a more targeted and engaged way of marketing at the end of the day. So I think with these 3 points, that gives some context around how you can use Bunce to better manage your customers. You're on mute again, John.
Thank you very much for that, Demi and Paul. Quite enlightening conversation today, talking about customer value management, and we've done some zooming in on customer lifetime value and the revenue growth. Again, we've talked about how Bunce is existing for the purpose so declared, which is why businesses should be leveraging the tool called Bunce to ensure that their customers are satisfied with the service, because service delivery is not just the thing that you do the one time. If you make a sale to a customer for $1,000, how about you can sell 3, 4, 5 more times that same customer? So what are you doing to ensure that that customer is not lost? If you're still valuable to them, why expose yourself to the dangers and the hurt of competition when you can do something simple to ensure that satisfaction is at its peak and your revenue keeps brimming over the top of your reservoir? This is where we begin to call it a day today, and I'm happy to have us ask questions. So please, if you do have a question, kindly just unmute and let us know what your question is. We'll be happy to respond to that. While we're looking out for that, please look at the chat box. You would find the social media links to Bunce across platforms. We're present on Twitter, on LinkedIn as well. And we encourage you very completely to check us out on bonds.sl, right? That's the website. Find out what we're up to there. And please feel free to book a session to learn more on how you can begin to use bonds today. We'll be happy to have a chat with you where we can walk you through or walk your team through setting up your account. Quite easy and simple anyways, but we are happy to make some time out to even better explain to you the values that you can gain and how you can best use bonds. And so this is where we begin to say thank you for joining in. Not sure that we have any questions in the room today, but it's been a stretch, an interesting stretch actually, just talking about value. Businesses exist to deliver value. The day any business stops delivering value, that same day customers stop to exist, because the reason they came in the first place is because there was something that was worth their time. And if we do a good job as a business, then our customers will come, they will refer, and they will keep coming. Bunce is for you, that payment automation and customer value management tool that you can rely upon to ensure that your customers have the best of engagement from you, that you're able to segment your customers, able to understand them based on their data, and able to service them to the best of your abilities. Let me say thank you very much to Paul today for sharing with us, and Dami as well. Justus also spoke to us a bit in the beginning. We're totally happy that you were able to share all of those useful insights. I'm sure the businesses going off on this will be able to do better and make the best of their business. And that's it. Let's call it a wrap until we catch again in the next edition of Bunce webinar. Bye for now.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.